Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the council. It's your girl, Cosette.
Lexi.
And Rachel.
And today we're doing something that we've never done before, and that is responding to comments.
Spilling the tea.
The first comment we have from Matt is, we need to take podcast equipment away from people. So, Matt, we have our podcast equipment right here, and we are going to respond to some questions and situations that we've gotten. We started posting short form content on our Instagram, on our YouTube shorts, and on our TikTok.
Yep.
And that sparked some really cool conversation.
Some really great stories from you all.
Yeah, some really great stories that we've gotten, like some advice and stuff that maybe we can give out. So we're just going to go through. This episode is dedicated to Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
We're gonna need these a little bit longer. So sorry, Matt. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe
we're gonna hold on to the
Yeah,
podcast.
This is
equipment
not
for
going
now.
anywhere.
Okay, so, but while I pull them up, how about you guys talk about like how you feel of us doing short form content now? I think it's so
I'm
fun.
really
Oh,
excited
100%,
because
yeah.
I mean I have two incredible editors right here, and they've been doing videos. They do it all day for their job, and they are really blowing this up. So I'm really excited, and it's been very fun to see what we've discussed as like short snippets because we're catchy.
Yeah.
We're funny girls.
We are catchy.
We are.
So
It's little highlights, you
Yeah,
know. It's
I really like it.
It's teaser clips to see,
Yeah.
you know, to lead that person to our
Watch the full thing.
I think
Yeah, our
the
full
next
video.
thing I think that's coming to us are like t-shirts now with our catchphrases because
I
we
think
have so
so.
many.
We have so
We're
many.
just
Some
gonna
merch.
generate some merch and
Yeah.
wear them.
That sounds
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
So, okay, our first comment here is from Rupert. And Rupert says, one of my closest friends set me up with a homophobe who bullied me and reported me when I sent a Valentine's Day gram in school. And then said friend also started bullying me after the fact, too. So it seems like this friend, like romantically, I'm assuming, set their friend, who was not really their real friend, Rupert, got set up
Yes.
with a bad person by a bad person.
Yes.
So, how would you handle that? Like, you were totally screwed over by both the friend who you thought set you
And
up
the potential
and
romantic
the potential
interest.
romantic interest.
I think at that point you kind of have to reconsider the whole entire relationship because having a friend, you want them to have your back, and if they, who knows if this was intentional or unintentional, but it seems kind of like this
Well,
may have been intentional, which means that person
It
might have been
seems-
jealous.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like jealousy does seem
they
like
were
to be a
sabotaging
factor.
them.
Yeah. But like to then bully them, I wonder what the dynamic was like between the friend and Rupert beforehand, and if there were any signs that you were seeing that they were this type of person to bully you. Maybe they were undercutting you. Maybe they weren't listening to you in like a very meaningful way. I feel like there may have been signs that like this person wasn't a great friend to you.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
not on you to not have seen that, but I think people in subtle ways and not so subtle ways show you who they
Yeah.
are. And if they turned around and bullied you like this or set you up with someone who was bullying you and was a homophobe like that, then I don't think they had your interests at heart. And I think,
Mhm.
No.
yeah, I think that's really a hard situation. I'm so sorry that you went through that.
And also
Bullying
just-
is never the answer.
Yeah, to send a Valentine gram is such a sweet thing, and then to be freaking bullied for that actually angers me so much. People can be so ugly and jealous, and it's
That's
sorry you
awful.
went through that. That
I hope,
sucks.
I hope you're in a better place. I don't know
It's not
when this
personal.
happened, but
Yeah,
there's so many better people out
I'm
there.
assuming
Yeah.
last Valentine's Day, maybe.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, next comment is from Waldo, and Waldo says, "I'd love if
Okay,
more women."
These names are amazing.
And I
What?
feel like they're fake names, but it's better if they're fake names.
Okay,
you know?
I like them. I'm all for them.
Oh, so
Waldo.
this video, this was the episode about effort is attractive, and talking about
Okay,
how
Waldo?
being like a simp is actually a turn on. Waldo says, "I'd love if more women had this mentality. The amount of times I've been told that I'm too nice or I try too hard to be with someone. I would love if a woman simped over me. I match energies."
That's
Oh my
crazy
God.
that there's people that are like,
Yes.
see, I feel like either they have been with younger women who do not know what is so amazing about a nice simp man, like,
Mm-hmm.
or anyone who's showing you attraction and interest and like that you're their priority. That's not a bad thing. So I feel like maybe the maturity level in who they're pursuing is just not.
But people are used to accepting.
I know
not
The
being
bare
loved.
minimum?
They
Yeah.
have experience and understand that that's not love and that's not great. We shouldn't be seeking people who are ignoring us
Yeah.
and showing us that the chase is what we want. Like We don't want the chase.
No, I want to see
Yeah,
effort.
I
like,
want to see effort.
put your back into it. You know,
can be
like show me
flirty
that
your
you
and
back
like me.
cute
into
and
it.
creative. Like you can be like a little bit like, oh well, you have to earn my love today. But like, there's that's because you guys are in a relationship and you have each other's best interests. You shouldn't be playing cat and mouse with someone who really isn't wanting, or like caring to keep your attention.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I feel no, we have you, and we're here to convert or preach out that simp is a great thing, and I hope there's more couples that are demonstrating that.
Your
like,
partner should absolutely want you and be all
Yeah.
over you. You know,
if
it's like
they're
that's
not,
your
that,
forever
like,
partner.
yeah, exactly.
It's absolutely true that we accept the love that we think we deserve, and I think people think that they deserve a not a great kind of love, and so that's what they're used to, and that's only what they're willing to accept, and anything else they might perceive as being too much. But I hope
think
that
that's a great thing to mention,
Yeah.
is that a lot of people think if they're asking for it and someone thinks it's too hard to give them, that, oh, they must be asking for too much. No, you're just asking it to the wrong person, because to the person you're dating, it shouldn't be too much if you're
Yeah.
asking for something.
exactly.
I mean, maybe we were reading a comment earlier and I was just thinking of it. We're going to talk about it, but maybe that's too much. If you're thinking of the one I'm thinking of.
I wonder if it's this next one I'm about
It
to
might
say.
be.
So this episode was about healthy kind of jealousies.
Yeah.
Is this what you were talking about?
I
So
was. Might
this
be
was
too
a comment
much.
on our episode about healthy kind of jealousies and how to recognize red flags in a relationship as it pertains to jealousy. And this person whose username is no brain juice left.
Oh.
So we don't have a name here, but
That's how we felt before our 2 coffees.
Yeah. Yeah.
says this is true, but also an abuser can use jealousy to control you. Very true.
It's very true.
They said my ex would blame me for being bisexual and ask me to walk in the street looking at the ground because I could be attracted to anyone.
That's too much.
That just shows
That's-
insecurity on their side. It's like, it's your partner. You need to not like
You
be
need to be able
over their shoulder.
You need
can't
to be
a
able to
hawk.
talk about it and talk about like, hey, that's not a reasonable expectation. Let's talk about like, what is it that is making you feel insecure?
Yeah.
Are there actions?
What can
like,
I do
yeah,
to help you feel more
can't
insecure?
put blame on who they're attracted to. I can't be mad at my boyfriend for being attracted to women and say, you cannot walk into this
You
world.
got blinders
you
on.
have blinders on. Like, then okay, is it the type of love that you need to be seeing from them? Like, when he gets home, does he need to represent or show up for you in this way? Like, there's something else you need to talk about, but that is not a solve.
That's
That is
actually
not a
crazy to
solution.
think
Solve
people are
anything.
like that.
I can't believe that.
It's
Like,
unfortunate.
Yeah. And I think that this whole
I want to know, did they actually do it? Did they look
I
at,
don't know.
like,
Brain
how do
juice
you-
left. Let us know.
What's the follow up to that, please? Like,
I know. I need
are
to
you
follow.
still in the relationship? He said, did they say X?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so not current.
Smart
Perfect.
person.
Yeah.
All right, maybe
good.
that's a red
Leave
flag you're
that
aware of now.
situation.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have this struggle in relationships when you're with someone who's bisexual or pansexual, that they feel like there's so much competition. But I saw this thing on Twitter once that I really liked, and it was, you shouldn't feel jealous that they could be attracted to anyone, because first of all, that's not how it works. Second of all, you should think of it more as they have more options and they still chose you out of everyone, which is just
Yes.
more special.
I
So,
agree with that.
Yeah, I just like people. It's just a nicer way of thinking about
I-
it. It's
yeah,
like people are
you
so.
do. You have to also train your brain to not think of things in the negative and think about things in the positive, and that's also trust and security and making, going through that. But like, yeah, you have to think about it. I love that.
Yeah, very
thinking.
true. This woman, do we have a name here? Classic anime queen says, "You."
Rachel?
Says, "You beauties are 2 decades younger than me, but this advice was what I needed to hear today. Thank you."
Aw.
Isn't that so sweet?
I think that's the goal for this podcast and our long form and short form clips, is literally to give advice to anyone and everyone, whatever age you are.
Sometimes you
Anime
just need a
queen.
reminder. Anime queen, you are our
Oh
queen.
my gosh.
Yeah.
It's so cool to think people are actually walking away, listening to the podcast, getting something out of it, and allowing. And it's really funny actually, because it's so much easier said than done for certain things. And sometimes we preach things you just need to be told by someone. And then I'm not necessarily preaching everything perfectly in my life,
No.
but to have someone tell you is a good reminder. And sometimes I need to listen back to the podcast and be like, oh yeah.
Oh, I know.
should.
When I if I'm not sure what to listen to, I put our podcast on, because when I re-listen to us, it's a good reminder, and I feel like it's always relevant no matter what you're going through. There's something that we've discussed or we're going to discuss, and like that can we can touch on like currently in our lives, all of us. And I think that's why we started this podcast, is we've talked to each other and it's helped us a lot.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
process things
Therapy
we've gone
dupe.
through. Therapy group.
Therapy.
And,
I said therapy dupe.
Oh, dupe. I thought it was group too. Dupe, yeah.
Free therapy.
The free therapy also may need therapy. But it's just been encouraging to see how what we've taken to be so special now is translating into our audience, and also they're picking up what we've thought about this group. So
Yeah.
that's so great to hear.
I remember when we were first meeting up and having these conversations, when my sister or my cousins or someone would come to me asking me for advice, I would be like, we just talked about this. Oh my gosh. Like, I wish you could have heard the conversation that we had, because I feel like we all made such good points. And then that's where the podcast was born. Yeah. And I was just talking to someone. We were talking about really nasty friendship breakups, and actually one of my really good friends, and I was like, we actually, not to plug my podcast, but we had a really great episode on this, and she was like, oh my god.
Oh my gosh, we did.
Yeah, and
it was a great
I feel like we also get a lot of questions from people, or at least like a lot of people ask me if we're gonna ever have guests on, because we have a lot of people in our lives who would love to be a guest on the podcast, but the issue is we got 3 chairs here, and
yes.
there's not really space for a 4th. Well, I guess there is, but
you never know. So
Yeah.
keep listening, and maybe you'll discover something.
Yeah.
I think that would be, it would be really fun. It's just, it's got to be a whole other setup, and like when we're recording episodes, we're like batch shooting content one after the other.
It's an all-day thing.
Yeah, to have people like pop in and out, it's something that we definitely want to explore.
It is something we've thought about, so definitely exploring that option.
Yeah.
But we are really happy with just us 3 at the moment.
Yeah.
We're really into us.
Yeah.
We're into us.
Mariah commented on our episode about setting boundaries and communicating your needs clearly.
A practice we should try every day.
Yes.
Implement.
Mariah commented that fathers should be teaching how to set boundaries to their boys, which is so true.
I think that is such
I don't
a great,
think-
that is wonderful. That I think one way they can do that, from watching my own father and how he's interacted with his sons, is through demonstration. And I think my father has done a great job at showing how to show up for your family, how to show up in work, how to show up for your partner and your spouse, and balancing that, because no one can get it right all the time, but as long as we listen and we have that growth. So I think through demonstration first is how a father should really set that tone for their sons.
I think a father has like the utmost like strongest influence.
They do.
You know,
They do.
that's where their kids, their sons, learn the emotional maturity. You know, they mirror what they see around them in their family life. And I, just from my past experience, I would love more, emotional maturity and communication and understanding of their own emotions.
Boy, don't we all. Boy, key
To be
word.
seen.
Man does not do that.
Yeah.
Man communicates.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. But boys do not.
Boys do not.
Yeah.
That's that's true. And
But I love an emotionally intelligent individual. It makes the biggest difference in the
because
relationship.
boundaries, everyone has boundaries, and I think just is Mariah, her point was that men, in general, we're generalizing, struggle with listening to their partners or people in their life and not taking offense to it.
Yeah.
Like I
Getting
feel like
on the
a lot of
defense
times
immediately.
they think, oh, I do no wrong, or like what I say, you're too sensitive, or like they project it and put it on the other person instead of, hey, okay, like they're telling me something, and hopefully it wasn't their intention to break that boundary, and you both can have that understanding. But like a lot of times when you have that, like they take it as such a confrontation that it's like, whoa, you're just
Listen,
like
don't
overdone it.
attack.
Yeah, listen, don't attack. And so I think that's a really great point that she brought up. And I'd like to.
I second it.
I second
agree.
that.
I agree.
I heard that.
Yeah, I heard it too. So this is a little bit of a hate comment, I think, but I don't really know if it's a hate comment because it kind of agrees with, I think, what we were saying here. But this was on our episode about, we were talking about how actions speak louder than words, and intention only means so much, but what really matters is the action. And even when you don't intend on something being perceived a certain way, you can't control how it affected the person based on their preconceived notions, their triggers, their trauma. So we were basically talking about how what matters is the action. Action is key. Unless they take that extra step and actually show up for you, actions speak louder than words. Those are the subtitles that I just read. So that was the episode, and this person commented, "We judge ourselves based on our intentions, but we judge others based on their actions. You missed the mark with this one." But I'm a little bit confused because isn't that kind of exactly what we were saying? That like we know what our intentions are, obviously, and so that's what we have going. I just want to break this down a little
No,
bit.
I understand the comment. I don't think we missed the mark. Maybe we could have elaborated differently, but I think we obviously know our intention when we go into an action, and if it hurts someone, it's not our intention, and we know that. But
Mhm.
I think what we're saying is that shouldn't be something that's repeated.
Mhm.
I don't think it should be necessarily judged. I think our action and how we follow up with that intention. Okay, I'm sorry I hurt you. That wasn't my intention. But if it's a repeated offense, then if you're not judging yourself or if you're not looking to improve that, that's not what we're saying. Our actions are important to us too.
Yeah.
If I hurt you guys and we have a conversation about it and I'm consistently hurting you guys, then that it's not my intention doesn't mean anything. It's my action. And I think we hold ourselves to that same standard, or we should. We shouldn't just say like, or else that's a breakdown in communication.
It's not
If
like,
you're-
well, I
yeah,
didn't mean it that way, so you can't be
Yeah,
upset. The
that's not-
whole thing is like when you get into an argument, I feel like I have this conversation a lot, like in romantic
Yeah.
relationships specifically, where I will be like, I know you did not have any bad intentions. I know you didn't mean anything bad by it. Regardless, it still made me feel
This
XYZ because of XYZ. And that's not something that I'm judging them based off of, but it's still
No.
something that I'm going to need to process and heal
And you
from.
need a conversation about like,
Yeah.
I understand your intention wasn't to do this or make me feel this way.
It still made me
It
feel that
still
way
made me feel this
regardless.
way.
Yeah.
So I
So
just need a little bit of time.
Right. How can like what's the next like yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We're saying like I understand what the comment is, but I think that's what we were trying to say.
I just wanted to address that
maybe-
because I feel like
That definitely puts a question mark over my head. I just want to say like 100% actions speak louder than words. Like texting someone, "Oh, I want to see you. You're so important," but not showing up.
or
That
following
shows
through
your,
on the plan,
or
then you're
follow
like
through. That shows the
doesn't
priority
show
that
me
you
missing
are or
you,
that
doesn't
you're
show-
not.
Yeah.
it only means so much.
Your
If you're
intention
just
maybe is to see him, but if you're not making it a priority, then
if you're gonna talk
Great.
the talk, you gotta walk the
yeah.
walk.
Yeah.
So I agree. If you okay, interesting. We're like
Yeah.
having a deep dive conversation.
I know, because
about
when I
this
saw
again.
that, I was like, okay, hate comment, but also what are you even trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
let's move on to something a little bit more, I guess, not positive, but neutral. This was on Stop Chasing Love, Unlocking the Dating Game, and talking a little bit more about shifting our focus when we're looking for a potential partner. And Bobby said, the thing is, when you're actively looking for the right one, you look at every detail of every person. When you aren't, you just look at a person as a whole and don't nitpick as much. Which I think is exactly what we were saying about how when you stop looking is when the person comes. Because when you are kind of like auditioning people for the role of boyfriend or girlfriend or partner, and you're looking at, well, do they check these boxes?
You're like hyper
Is
focused.
he
Exactly.
saying that's a good thing?
no, yeah, they're just Bobby
No, but
is.
is he saying like that's what you should because then you're saving yourself time?
No, I think they're just agreeing with
Oh,
when
they're-
you stop looking.
Oh, they're agreeing.
Is
okay.
yeah, no, you're
Okay.
on. You're like what?
I know. I'm like, are
She's
they
like,
agreeing
wait.
with us? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
No, Bobby's agreeing and just saying that when it's a really great point that you find the person when you're not looking because you're not nitpicking every single thing about a person and like auditioning them in all these ways.
And it's like you're kind of focused on yourself when you're not looking, you're doing your own thing and you're attracting the vibe that needs to be attracted to you.
Right, because
Yeah.
you're no longer looking to fulfill like a hole or a
Mhm.
space.
Yeah.
You're like,
oh, are you
I'm-
going to be the
I'm-
one?
I'm happy. I'm content. Now let's see if we can like be happy together. And through through discovery, we can see if those little annoyances that come with every relationship and every person are something I'll put up with or something that I don't. But when I think I have a friend who's kind of going through this right now is that, and I totally understand her. She's like, if the vibe's right, then I'll meet with them. And she's on the dating apps right now. And at the same time, I'm like, well, I don't think the vibe's going to be right anytime. Like sometimes you just have to take a chance, go on the date and see like, okay, yeah, that was a fun date, or all right, I didn't really care for this. But, you know, when you are hyper focused on what you like and what you don't like, and sometimes that's a great thing to be aware like that. But at the same time, I see that comment where you're like, yeah, when you're looking, you're like, I didn't like that they wore their socks with their I
It's
didn't
the
like
icks
this.
that
Or,
you
like,
pick
it's
up on so fast.
Right, you pick up
yeah.
that so much faster than, oh, I got to know this person and like don't like that they do that, but that's not a big deal.
I
And it's just
remember
an ick.
when I did this challenge that I've talked about on the podcast where I went on 10 first dates.
Yes.
I feel like every time I would, I'm a hopeless romantic, but with a lot of times I would come back and I'd be like, oh, but they kind of talked kind of weird and they were a little bit too touchy. And I feel like it's so much easier when you are intentionally looking and being like, I need to find a boyfriend right now
to find an out.
Because
to
you're trying
find
to
an
like, match
out,
this feeling
yeah.
that you think should happen.
Exactly.
Like, you're like, okay, I should feel
Yeah.
the sparks. I should feel this. I should feel the excitement. Our
Yeah.
kiss should be magical. All this. He should take me, or like all these expectations are built instead of this kind of like, oh, I have no expectations. Let's see how we just
So
how
true.
this goes.
I think,
Because
yeah,
I'm good.
Going
Like,
with the flow, no, like,
Yeah.
minimal expectations, just feeling it out.
like
Don't be
you
so
said
hard.
before, that doesn't mean your standards are lower. It
No,
just means the
absolutely
expectation.
not.
I loved when you said that. But like,
Yes.
just because you have low or like no expectations doesn't mean you have to lower your standards. It just means you're open to exploring those standards, like that person, and if they can meet your standards.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
really.
I'm fighting my mic today, so I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It just keeps
it's
coming back.
floating. It's like,
I like it like down here, and it just
Yeah.
keeps like popping back up.
maybe we'll have to.
That's a perfect response to the guy that said we should take away the
Yeah,
the
you're
mics.
so right. Let's get rid of them. Was that Matt? Is that who said
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, let's get rid of them.
Matt, you're
Whoop.
so right.
This like feels almost. Okay. Anyway, fun little response that we got. I'm just gonna hold it for.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna balance here.
Yeah.
I gave a shout out to this dating coach guy that I follow who I really love, Nico from the Daddy Academy. I talked about him in a past episode. And he actually commented on our podcast and said appreciate the love, and then he followed our podcast page.
Ooh.
So now Nico is part of the
Nico,
family.
I hope we do you proud.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like nervous that he's gonna be like, that's such unhealthy advice. But that was
Hey,
a
we're
fun little
learning
shout
too.
out.
We're
yeah,
learning
Yeah,
too.
we're all learning.
Aw.
So yeah, I just shout out to Nico.
Nico.
Someone had commented on the unexpected items to bring on a first date that their immediate thought was to bring a knife or use their keys.
As they should.
People,
I get
we
it.
had talked about
should.
like
We talked
wedging
about,
the
like,
keys
holding the
between,
key.
yeah.
Between your fingers,
Yeah,
walking to your car.
Unfortunately, like that's exactly what you have to think about. You think about your environment, how many lights are around. Okay, is there what's like how long does it take me to get my car?
Yeah.
Should someone else walk? You think about all of that, and
Also,
Like,
you
the
just
key-
you just need to be cautious around like of your situation and
Yeah.
who's around you. I wasn't going on a date, but literally I was going into an office, and this happened recently, and there was this guy walking, and he had a hoodie, just wearing all black, and it was a one-way path, but I went this way, and I was going to get out of my car, and I was like, this guy was walking this way. I'm going to walk this way. I'm going to run into him. And I just had some weird, uncomfortable feeling like in my stomach. And I was like, I am sitting in my car. I'm going to sit in my car. If I need to, I'll call someone. And literally, I am so glad like I stuck with my intuition, because exactly the way that I would have went down, this guy was going up, and we would have crossed paths.
that is so scary.
And it's like follow your intuition,
Always trust your gut. And
Yeah.
I like how this episode feels a little bit like a remix of all of our episodes
It
because we're walking
is.
through topics. But I have a situation that happened this morning that I didn't tell you girls about. But I think my thought process is just good advice for everyone to take away. And I'm sure I was just being paranoid. But I left my house this morning. It took me about 45 minutes to get here. And when I first got on the highway, I was jamming to songs at the top of my lungs, like just screaming in my car. And there was this like white Chevy pickup truck that was driving next to me.
No, I'm already getting like the.
And the guy looked over and like looked at me and then got behind me. Like I
no.
sped up and he got behind me. And the entire drive, I switched highways. I went off this like the entire drive, his car was so close behind me to the point where like I was afraid when I would hard stop that he would come crash into me.
Oh my gosh.
And at one point I went from I wasn't in the carpool lane because it was just me, but I went from from the far left lane to the far right lane, and every time I switched lanes, he followed me.
That is
That
So then I was
terrifying.
getting off the exit for this
Which you're
place,
like, do I even
and I was
wanna-
like, he's okay. I mean, maybe it's a coincidence that he just happens to be on the highway, but if he gets off of my exit,
But
that
you
would be
think
weird.
about that. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think coincidence when I see a car follow me for 2 blocks. I'm like,
Especially as a
not a
woman,
coincidence.
it's
Like-
now 35 minutes into
Yeah,
the
and
drive,
now
and he's still directly behind me. He was the only car behind me the entire drive.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, okay, this area, I mean, without giving away where we shoot, like this location's very industrial. There's not a lot going on. So I'm like, it would be kind of weird if he get off at the same exit. I get off the exit, he's right behind me.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I turn this onto the like first residential street, and when you turn, like you're in the far right lane, I immediately like switch over 2 lanes to the left, and he switches over 2 lanes to the left.
What?
So I'm at a red light now, and I see him like in the side mirror, and I take my phone, and I was sending a video to my cousins, and I was like, maybe I'm being paranoid, but I feel like this guy's been following me. And so I go like this, and I think he could see me filming on my phone, and I was like, it's a white Chevy, just so you guys know. And I had said to my cousins, I was
which
like,
is always so smart. I think about that all the time. Like, I'll send messages to someone and be like, hey, I feel unsafe in this grocery store. This is the man's description.
Uh-huh.
I'll say that to my boyfriend. I'm like, just in case.
uh-huh.
And
So-
so that was
Yeah,
good.
I filmed it even though I didn't have his license plate, but I think I was just hoping that maybe him seeing, because
Yeah.
you see through the car in front of you. I was hoping maybe he would see that I was filming him,
Yeah.
but
Did he?
um,
Or did he?
I don't know. So then he still stayed behind me, and then I decided if I was getting really close to my destination and he was still following me, I would just drive to the nearest police station, because they say if you feel like you're being followed, drive to a police station, because
Yeah.
that will get them off your tail.
Yes.
And just park in the parking lot and then go straight into the lobby if they're still there. So anyway, that was my plan. I was like, okay, if he still turns on this street that there's nothing else, I'm just gonna reroute to a police station. Or I think I had decided I would drive around the block once, and if he followed me around the block, it would be very
that would
clear.
be very obvious.
But anyway, then this again, I was being paranoid, but still better. My gut didn't feel great. Police cars start coming from an accident, and so police cars start coming down the street, and I got over to the right so that they can get through, and all of a sudden he switched lanes and sped off and kept driving.
What?
That-
So I don't
That
know
is
if
I don't think you're being
crazy.
paranoid.
I
That
don't think
sounds-
so.
it was very weird, and then I had still like 3 minutes until I got here, but yeah, I was
Honestly,
like,
he probably thought you probably called the police.
I don't know. I mean, if you're just like following someone, I feel like
you could. I mean, you could have been kidnapped.
the
That's not
police
a-
maybe wouldn't have like spooked you off as much, but maybe if he did have bad intentions, or it was just complete coincidence,
Coinkydink.
coinkydink. But either
also,
way,
following your gut
No, that
literally
your gut
tells
was
you.
better safe than sorry. And
Better
if you
safe
ever,
than sorry. I have no problem being an a-hole on the street
Yeah.
and avoiding people, because it's better safe than sorry, and that's the environment we live in.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, carrying a knife sounds extreme, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
really not. Like,
Especially in LA. Just
Oh.
LA. It makes me feel so uneasy.
I would say a few like last tips that I have for that situation is if you feel like you're being followed, drive to the nearest police station. If you feel like someone is coming up to your car, hold down the horn, like honk, so that it draws attention.
try to get the license plate.
Yeah,
You
try to get
can.
their license plate.
oh, I mean, speaking of license plate,
Yeah.
like when I was living, I moved now, so I lived in Pasadena and in I guess a surrounding area of LA, if you guys aren't from LA. But there was this truck that parked on the neighboring, like the street over, for months and months, and he didn't live there. He was always in his car. He was always there. And I know, some people live in their car and everything. It was this truck, and he was there constantly. And I mean, I just wanted to be safe in case something happened. So I took a picture of the license plate just to be aware that if something happened to me, because he was always in there, always in his truck, always looking, and it just felt a little like
Mm-hmm.
he knows my routine now, because I'm always walking the dogs
Yeah.
around here.
Always change up
And
your routine.
I know, and it's really hard when you live in a little residential area where
Yeah.
you're like, how
and
many
you have
streets
your work
can I
schedule.
cross and go?
Yeah.
And so I felt like he saw me enough where he'd be like,
He knew.
oh,
He's
this
like,
is a possible
"Okay."
time she might be walking.
Mhm.
This is a so I was like,
If you have any uncomfortable feeling,
Yeah.
do something about
Yeah.
it. Make a
It's-
note, take a picture,
mm-hmm.
tell your friend.
So license plate
also-
if you can.
Yeah, I also have a shortcut set on my phone where if I am like being pulled over, for example, which has only happened once and it wasn't even my fault, FYI, and it was very recently, but I can say, hey, I don't want to set it off. I'm being pulled over right now, and it will automatically pause any music if I have it going on. It will lower my brightness so that I don't look like I was like on my phone, which I never am like doing that.
yeah.
It will send my current location to my emergency contacts, and it will start recording on my phone
That's
automatically.
So smart.
Wait, I need to do that.
I know.
On
Of
my
course, the one time
phone.
I was being pulled over, there was so much going through my head that I forgot to do it. But there are a lot of safety features on your phone that you should be taking advantage of.
Yeah.
So that's just a little like life
Wow,
hack.
Who knew this conversation was like going to be our longest one?
I
Like,
know, and now we are past
Yeah,
30 minutes.
yeah.
And so
We
we're going to
just
take a
really-
pause there, but it was really fun to just before we filmed this episode, I was reading some of the comments,
it
and
was just so.
one of you was like, let's just do an episode on it.
just
I'm
do
glad
it.
that we did that, and I hope we can do more of it.
Yeah, please write in. We really love hearing from
Yeah.
anyone who's willing to share stories or comments or
Yeah.
questions. Like, we love having these debates and sparking new conversations.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
It felt like a little remix of
It was a
Remix.
clash of all of our episodes.
some of our most recent episodes.
Yeah, I know. I forget how much fun I'm like, it's
I
like we
know.
never talked about it. We're like, oh my God. New
What?
stories.
So
This
true.
just happened this morning. I
Yeah.
mean, it's always relevant.
It's
That's what I'm
always
saying.
relevant. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to give us a follow on Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating. Some people were commenting on Spotify that they couldn't give a 5-star rating, but it's there. You just got to click on the stars and then leave that 5 stars. But yeah, keep writing in your comments. We love to hear from you guys. And that's all. So signing off, this is Cosette.
Lexi.
And Rachel.
Bye.